Steven, if we do fantasy football again, can we just establish a rule right now that we're not going to slap each other if something doesn't go our way?
Depends on the gift that you send me.
Good Lord. Is this the most ridiculous story you've ever seen?
Yeah, and we're watching Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
Well,
You know?
yeah, but the backstory to that is something more serious. This Jock Peterson Tommy Fan thing is the dumbest thing I've seen in quite some time.
It's amazing. It is amazing. And
Yeah.
I didn't know Tommy Pham was like that. I didn't know he took life so
He
serious.
takes gifts seriously. Just harmful team oriented gifts in the NL West he gets all butthurt about. I've never seen anything like this.
It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. Like I'm
Yeah.
watching Jock explain to reporters everything, and then so what? He put Jeff Wilson on injured reserve or listed him as out or something like that.
Is that the whole bugaboo that Tommy Fan has?
Yeah, it's like he was listed as out, but Jock put him on injured reserve, and then he added another player, but he only said he was out and not on the IR just yet. So,
Yeah. Hey,
like,
you're
Tommy
you're
Pham
fucking
was
with the
mad
man's
about
money.
that because he had Jeff Wilson in another league, and he didn't do that with Jeff Wilson. He just put him on his bench, and then he was like suffered at running back. I don't know.
It sounds like we got to get Jeff Wilson's opinion on this stuff. Anyway,
Agreed.
welcome to Just Your Opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. We are back from a long hiatus. Not that long, a week long. We'll recap everything that happened in the world of sports, and we'll recap some stuff that happened in the world. But real quick, last time we were on, we did a podcast with Elena and Anna, and we went to Greek Fest, and Greek Fest was a great time. I had a great time. It was great to reunite with everybody. Steven, I know you had a great time too, but how you feeling since Greek Fest?
Well, I'm feeling great.
Oh,
Feeling great.
okay,
Yeah. Feeling lovely.
okay. We'll leave it at that then. And I had to go to Buffalo after the Greek Fest. And that was tough to go to Buffalo. We had to do the funeral service for my grandmother.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I'm back and going to be starting the new job on Wednesday. So can't wait for that.
Get you.
But before we go into the sports world, real quick, last Tuesday, I had the funeral service for my grandmother, and it was sad, but she lived a full life. She was 93 years old, and it was a tough day, but we got through it. But just sitting there and then kind of going through the emotions of that and then what happened later in the day, I couldn't imagine holding a funeral service for 19 children.
Yeah.
So the shooting in Uvalde, I texted you last week. Do you want to do a show on Friday? And things were, still kind of weird, so we thought best not to. But yeah, just reflecting on that a week ago, I don't want to make any, I think it's stupid that we're politicizing. I think that the thought of politicizing guns is, a no-no for people. But
Yeah.
I think Steve Kerr said it best. So I, agree with his opinions. And yeah, it's just I can't think of a story that sad in quite some time. So and it's the week before in Buffalo where I was, we went to the chain of grocery stores that the shooting occurred in Buffalo. So that was just terrible.
Ugh.
Actually, in the same parking lot, not the same parking lot, but we were in the parking lot and we heard about the Uvalde shooting. Just terrible. So
Yeah.
that's where my mind's been the last week. Obviously, great stuff with the Warriors. We'll talk all about that, but just sick to my stomach. And a lot of people went on and did, sports shows the next day. And I just thought it was weird, honestly. So I'm glad we're back, but that's been on my mind since. And I can't, fathom children being shot in a school. It's just sick to me. So, yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's something we're just like used to at
Yeah.
this point. It's almost become like it's become part of our normal lives, and that's the sickening part about it. And that's why Steve Kerr was so emotional and angry and passionate about what he was saying. And if you disagree with Steve Kerr, if anyone disagrees with Steve Kerr, just simply asking the question, when are we going to do something, and when is the government, Congress, going to do something when it comes to these gun laws and background checks and all sorts of stuff like that. I don't know how you can disagree with that sort of thing, and it stinks. And from the outside looking in, when I have family in England and you talk to them a little bit about it. I didn't talk to them about this specific shooting, but I've talked to them about one previously, and they're just baffled. They don't understand why we need this Second Amendment just to be so free, and for us to have so much access to these ARs and these just any gun, easy access to it. It just baffles them, and it baffles me too. I don't really understand it. It really last week it was a somber mood for sure. Watching a game, especially when you're watching a game against Dallas, like
Yeah.
in Dallas. So after all that happens, it's just tough, man. It's really tough.
Yeah. And, I am with you on the whole Second Amendment thing. There's a lot smarter people that have spoken out, so I will let them speak out. I have the same opinions. I have the same opinions as Steve Kerr, and I commend him for doing that. I was anticipating, I'm sad that it had to happen, but I was waiting to hear what he would say, especially in Texas that day. So,
Yep.
I hate saying thoughts and prayers and all that stuff. I just want change to happen. So I'll just say rest in peace to the 19 children that were shot and the teacher. That's
Yep.
awful. And there's no easy way to transition into sports, so we'll just do it. But yeah, you know, sad that happened. But also, sometimes it's good to have things take your mind off terrible things. So, hey, we're happy that the Warriors are back in the NBA Finals. Um, yeah. Sorry, just terrible transition. But
No, that's fine.
going from where they were 2 years ago, you know, bad as they were, 15 wins, and now the Warriors are back in the NBA Finals. And we talked about the first game of the Western Conference Finals. Warriors dominated Dallas, and just recapping through games 2 through 5. They had the 19-point deficit against Dallas that Friday night. They come back and win that game. Game 3 Sunday night. They it was kind of it was kind of a back and forth game, but the takeaway from that game was Andrew Wiggins. That was the Andrew Wiggins game. We were
Yes.
finally waiting for it. The sick dunk that I think is going to last probably, I think it's bigger than Baron Davis's dunk over AK-47 in my opinion. I know that dunk will live in, forever for the Golden State Warriors fans, the We Believe team. But that was just sick over Luka Doncic of all people. That
Yeah.
was amazing. And then, yeah, just to tie it back to, unfortunately, the Uvalde shooting, I think that the Warriors and Steve Kerr and everybody were not in the right mindset for Game 4. They could have completed the sweep. I don't want to say that that's the reason they lost the game, but I just felt like they just weren't as passionate about the
Well,
game.
it's the same thing as the last series in Game 4. I mean, they had a 3-0 lead. It really didn't matter all that much if they would have lost that game. They can lose that second game on the back-to-back, considering or not on the back-to-back, but on the second road game, considering that they're going to go back home anyway. So they can afford to play a Game 5. And it's not too bad for Joe Lacob and the Warriors organization that they get another little playoff game in the fifth game in Chase Center, too. Knowing how packed that it was going to be. Plus, you got to send Charles Barkley back to San Francisco, which was fun.
Ooh. We'll talk about that too.
And then he wore that pink suit. I think he wore that pink suit. Was that after that was Game 5, right? Where he wore the pink suit.
I didn't notice the suit,
He
but
had the pink suit where someone how they do it on TNT where they post a picture of someone on Twitter like with a GIF or a photo with like a meme. Yeah, they posted a picture of a couch and it's the same with Barkley's suit. Back to the Andrew Wiggins dunk, though. I guess I haven't had my being out for the last week and a half, and I tested positive for COVID. That's just
Steven.
That's anyone out there listening. I'm fine divulging that information. I'm still here, testing positive. Well, I haven't tested today, and I'm hoping to test negative today. It's looking good.
Glad to hear that.
Yeah, feeling a lot better. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, the Wiggins
Andrew Wiggins.
Dunk. I get how in the in the biggest stage, just as big of a stage as you're going to get. I mean, the NBA Finals is going to be the biggest stage. I mean, if he could do that over like, you know, Time Lord Robert Williams, then okay. But like, I felt like that dunk to me was, I'd put that second to the one over Brandon Clark in game two. I think the one, like, because just looking at the defenders, I can't put that over Baron Davis over AK-47 because Kirilenko, not only just the gravity of who they were playing, but also Kirilenko was like a depoy. He was a defensive player of the year. So for Baron to dunk over that guy, like that was just unreal. So it's going to be hard for me to put any dunk over that one. I get the Wiggins thing over Doncic, but Doncic was kind of like falling over as he was going for the block. He was trying to get in the way, but he couldn't. It was a fantastic dunk, don't get me wrong, and I loved it when I saw it from the top of the key. But I felt like that one over Brandon Clark was just as impressive, where he was climbing the ladder and he knocked over a big man.
Yeah, I would say though that the perception of Andrew Wiggins, even from me, because I got frustrated at times during this playoff run.
From everybody. It's
everybody
like
has always been that he's not aggressive, he's not a killer, and he's proven that time and time again through this playoff run against Memphis, especially against Dallas. When you go frame by frame with this dunk,
yeah,
it's like a jump. Like, how the fuck does his hand,
right,
like where he is on the floor to the motion of actually putting the ball in the rim is just almost like cartoony. Like, I don't know how the hell he did that with just one arm. It was similar to like Vince Carter doing it, but it was like, in the slam dunk contest 20 years ago, but actually like in a game and doing it against arguably the best player in the game right now. I don't know. I just thought that it's more like, I hate saying this. I fucking hate saying this, but like it was a legacy dunk.
Oh,
it was just like, that's the snapshot we'll have of Andrew Wiggins' career.
For sure.
That's good. Like, that's the poster and posterizing and everything.
No doubt. I'm not gonna take anything away from the dunk. And I get that, but and you're right. It does speak to a larger point of, wow, Andrew Wiggins is really here. Like, he's doing this damn thing. And not only that, but it was the way that he was guarding Doncic too. I know that Doncic had a big couple of games, but for the most part, Andrew Wiggins was doing pretty well against him. If you look at those tracking stats, those matchup stats, even though he'd played only 5 games, Wiggins had guarded Doncic more than anybody else in the playoffs as far as minutes and possessions partially. Like, Wiggins was the guy on Doncic, which is why I, think that maybe he should have been the first ever conference final MVP as opposed to Steph Curry. But
agreed.
But nevertheless, that's just more of a popularity contest. Who cares? That doesn't matter.
Against what's the writers though? Like, come on, you can't look at the game and see that Wiggins or Looney were better than Steph.
Looney was fantastic too, wasn't he?
I would have split it, but you're right. It's a popularity contest. And honestly,
those two guys, man.
I know. Well, we'll talk about it all. But like that award, like when Steph got it, even they were all kind of laughing. Like,
yeah,
does this shit really mean anything?
Yeah, no, it's it's all fabricated. It's just to get the league into people into watching the league. It's like, if Steph doesn't win it, then are people really going to watch the finals if Kevon Looney wins the league conference MVP?
It's almost like, not to give away. Did you finish Winning Time?
No, I need to watch the 10th episode. Damn it,
Lord, man, you got COVID. You got time to watch this shit.
I know. I've been watching a lot of other stuff, a lot of movies. Watched a lot of movies.
All right. We'll get into that a little later. But in the last episode of Winning Time, they win the championship. Spoiler alert. You can go look at Basketball Reference too.
Really?
And the big thing is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is out for that game. And I didn't know this, but I knew about the game. But Magic plays center, and he has a great performance. And he won MVP. But behind closed doors, David Stern goes up to Magic and says, hey, Kareem's not here. It would be good for the league if you got MVP, even though Kareem technically won it. So it was kind of a shady thing, but they gave Magic MVP when Kareem won the votes by the writers.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there was like, they won't release the voting, or maybe they did. They did for the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. But I wonder if it was just like, nah, Steph needs to get it. Steph needs to get this award, even though it doesn't really matter. But
yeah, I think that was their calling. And don't get me wrong, Steph was awesome in this series. You need Steph to have that kind of, if you're going to win the finals, you need Steph to have an MVP type of performance, in my opinion. I know the Eastern Conference Finals, we'll get into it. But you need Steph to perform like a Finals MVP if they're going to win this thing. And I think if Steph wins it, then I mean, I'm feeling really good about their chances if Steph is playing at that sort of caliber. It's at a sort of MVP level. He wasn't really doing it. He did it for like shooting the basketball, at least. He did it for 2 out of the 5 games in that Dallas series.
Yeah.
So you need him to do that for all 6, 7, however many that they're facing against Boston. But man, just I can't believe they're back in it.
I know.
Do you think this is the easiest path that they've had to a finals before? Because let's face it, the Nuggets, all they had was Jokic. They didn't have anyone
Still
else.
The MVP.
They didn't have anyone else that could score the basketball.
Still the MVP.
Then the Grizzlies.
Okay.
They beat them without Ja Morant. They still did. They had Ja. They had other pieces. And the Grizzlies were a good team. But without Ja, they were just they weren't as good on offense. They didn't really have anyone who could be your number one scorer, maybe beside Desmond Bane. Dylan Brooks had to have a 30-point night, but then he shot him out of the game at the end of that one. And then this game against Dallas, this series against Dallas, I mean, Dallas, they have Jalen Brunson, sure, but I mean, is he really going to win you a game outside of, like, he needs to be the number 3. If you're going to have a championship caliber team, you need Luka as the 1, someone else as the 2, and Jalen Brunson as the 3, kind of like the Milwaukee Bucks with Antetokounmpo and Middleton and Drew Holiday when they won last year. So this path to the finals, it feels like it's been a little more easy as far as their opponents go.
But it shouldn't diminish what they've done.
Not at all. Not at all.
And I don't want to, go down memory lane of 2015 when Doc Rivers was like, "Oh, they didn't play anybody tough. They didn't play us."
Yeah.
And that was the big thing, was the Warriors, the Warriors supposed to play the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals. That didn't happen. Same thing here. We were all expecting the Phoenix Suns to get there. And you know what? Phoenix shit the bed. So it's too bad. Too bad. And
True.
they played who they played. And I thought they would have beat anybody. If they would have played the Phoenix Suns, I thought they would have beat them. It would have been tough. Don't get me wrong. But they would have probably lost, or they probably would have beat the Phoenix Suns. Yeah. So, we can always go back to other playoff series or playoff runs. Kawhi Leonard hurt his knee, or what was his foot, whatever he did, his shin, fell on Zaza, and everybody thought that was an easy path. They swept the whole Western Conference one playoff run and only lost the Mavs once.
Yeah. So the now that I'm looking back at it, not so much 2018, 2019, the Clippers and the Rockets were like, that was peak Houston Rockets. They were just as good of an offensive team as anybody that season. So that's a tough path to the finals. Then you look at 2017, 2018. I mean, the Spurs, then the Pelicans, then the Rockets. I mean, the Rockets were good then too. And then you got the Cavs, probably 2017, 2018. And that's when you had Kevin Durant.
Yeah. Well, that was tough because the Rockets put us on the ropes with the Game 7 one. But real quick,
did you really think, though, that they'd get here, though? Did you really think that they would get to another NBA final?
Before the season or when?
Prior to the season. Let's just say last year, or you know what? Let's just say at the beginning of this year, when you're going into it, and that, let's not even use that as an early part. Let's use the trade deadline. After they didn't make any moves, you knew that this was going to be the team that they were going with. Steph, Clay, and Dre, they, weren't playing on the court at the same time. No, not at all. I mean, did you expect that they could get to the finals? Because, dude, I got to be honest, man, I didn't think they'd get to this point. I really didn't.
Well, I'm not shocked either, just because it's just 2 years removed. Did I think they would make it? We had a couple shows where I said, I don't know if it's going to be this year because they're, they have the 3 wise men, not James Wiseman, but 3 wise men, Clay, Steph, and Dre. But they have a lot of new pieces, older guys, or not younger guys. They have the, older guys and Andre. But no, I had my reservations, but at the same time, I was always going to think that they have the chance to do it because they're just championship tested.
Yeah.
It's something about them. They don't flinch at any situation that they're in. They can have a shitty game and they come back and just tear your heart out. Um, I think that before the season started, we were doing our NBA picks for the NBA Finals, and I ended up cowering in fear and succumbing to chalk and taking the Lakers and Nets to go to the finals. In hindsight, that's just terrible. But that's what everybody was picking because those are the two hot teams that made moves in the offseason. But a piece of like in the back of my head, I was thinking, I you know I could see the Warriors being really good this season. I do. Like
Yeah.
I like Phoenix. I thought the Lakers were going to be better than they were, and but then in hindsight now I'm like, God, no, that's a shitty team on paper. So I thought that there was like I want to go back and say like I was so close to saying the Warriors were going to play the Nets in the finals, and I ended up picking that because it just sounded crazy. But now looking back on it, it's not crazy. Just because it was only 2 years ago that they were doing
Yeah.
this stuff, and once they get Klay Thompson back, they're back to who they are.
Yeah. I think I think I was the same as you. I thought they could be really good, but I didn't think any farther. I didn't think any further past the conference finals. I thought
Yeah,
Western Conference Finals, maybe Western Conference Finals, and even then, I don't know how close you're going to be going to making it. But I think what this season has taught me more than anything, it's what you're talking about, um, championship DNA. Because I don't buy into a lot of the intangibles, that people talk about in sports, the whole, he's got that look in his eye or, something like that, some metaphor like that.
yeah,
But when you had multiple people on our station on 95.7, whenever guests would come on, and one of our questions to a lot of the guests were, if Steph, Clay, and Dre are healthy, do you think this team has a chance of getting back to the finals? And anytime we had an ex player on, that wasn't when we had like a beat reporter or anything like that. And I remember specifically Tony Allen was the one guy I remember specifically who said it. He's like, "Are you kidding me?" And he's like, "Steph, Dre, and Clay have championship pedigree. They know what it takes." And you hear that and you're kind of like, okay, whatever. But in basketball and football too, not so much in baseball and hockey, but if you have a team where a majority of your guys are championship tested, like they really do know what it takes, and they know the type of mindset that you need to have series after series after series. You can't get too high, can't get too low. I think a lot of teams say that, when they're in the playoffs, but I don't think they actually practice it, you know?
yeah,
So I think more than anything from this season, I believe in basketball more than anything. Championship pedigree matters, man. It
yeah,
it, it really does, because you're playing those guys anyway a majority of the game. It's the same thing in football. If you have a team in football where a majority of the guys have won before, they know how to win and they know what
yeah,
they need to do. The Buccaneers being led by Tom Brady, or just any of those teams within the AFC, that, the Patriots, the Steelers, the Ravens, the Colts, all those teams had championship pedigree and they knew what it takes. And the Rams, they're not necessarily that way, but you didn't really have a lot of those teams in the NFC, really, I guess. I'm not even going to try and think about that, but like, yeah, championship pedigree, man. It matters. Like,
no,
that's
it's
my
a
main
thing.
takeaway. It
It's a
matters.
it's a thing. It's a
It's a
thing.
thing.
Draymond knows how to do it. Clay knows how to do it. And Steph knows how to do it. Steve Kerr knows how to do it. The whole organization knows how to do it. They are at the top now of basketball as being the premier franchise, in my opinion. I
Yeah.
don't think that, the Lakers, they have their history, and we're going to play the Celtics, and they have their history. But in recent memory, no one stands close to the Golden State Warriors as far as a franchise that brings in a lot of revenue and star power. And plus, they have championship, pedigree, as you're saying. And I think it's just incredible that Clay is gone for 2 seasons. They have their terrible season in 2019, 15 wins. We all knew it was going to happen then. Thank God I wasn't around for that. And then last year, Steph has this, one man show kind of thing where he's close in the MVP running. They make it to the play-in tournament, but can't quite get there because he doesn't have enough. And then Clay comes back this season, and Jordan Poole comes into his own. Kevon Looney, my God, we'll get to him in a second. Just this team, it may have been game one where I was like, this reminds me so much of the 2015 team, just having such depth and just getting younger, but having still the guys that you need to win a championship. And for Clay to come back and they're back in the swing of things, it just shows just how, like, we've heard all the rumors throughout the years of, it was down to him or Kevin Love getting traded or
Uh-huh.
him. Even I want to say Kyrie Irving was a thing at one time. And even after the,
Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin was a
yeah,
thing.
Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, I guess a recent last couple of days
Karl
said that
Anthony Towns was a thing.
yeah. Uh, and yeah, Clay, you heard everything, even after they gave him the contract, tore his ACL, tore his Achilles, and people are like, should they just cut ties right now? He comes back and he had his, moments. But at the same time, Clay's been fantastic. And in game 5, he was the guy. 8 threes, 32
Yeah.
points, picking up where he left off 2 years ago. They're back in the finals. I'm so ecstatic that I'm here now and they're doing this. I love it. And just Kevon Looney. Damn, this guy has been the center that we've been looking for quite some time. He doesn't need to put up the points. He gets the rebounds at a great pace right now. Like, how many do you have in the last game? Like that game 5 close that game against Memphis where he had 22. That was incredible. But the whole series against the Mavericks, he's just been an unbelievable player.
The rebound numbers, first game, not really many. He only had 5, but 2 of them on the offensive side. Then he had 12, 12. Then he had 6 in the loss in game 4, but he only played 19 minutes, which is about 10 minutes less than he's averaged in the series. And then he had 18 to close things out, 7 of them on the offensive glass. So, I mean, rebounding the ball, he was just a different dude. He was a man on a mission. In not only in this game, in this series, but in the entirety of the playoffs. He understands what his role is, and he manages to be in the right place at the right time, man. I think there's something to him understanding if there's going to be a miss, the angle at which the ball is going to bounce off the rim, because it feels like he's always in the right position to box these dudes out and get the rebound.
Steph, Clay, Wiggins, they all know where to go when the ball is tipped and getting the rebound. They are, God, they're just so damn good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am ecstatic that they're back in the Western Conference or they're back in the finals. And to the dismay of Charles Barkley, though, let's talk about that real quick. So that was fun. I didn't take anything personal. Well, you know what? I'll say this. Chuck had a fun time with it. He said some things about the homeless in San Francisco where I was like, dude, you don't need to do that. That's a little too much. But for the most part, it was fun. And if he would have thrown that mug in the crowd, that would have been bad. Like you heard Ernie was like, Chuck, sit down.
Chuckster, stop it, Chuckster.
Chuck. If you would have thrown that
Shaq's
mug
in the back, you still have no rings.
That would have been bad if he threw the mug. That would have been a whole thing. Because he would have hit somebody who throws a mug. It would have been bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Why was I am I the I don't know why I find Shaq to be so hilarious. Like everyone thinks Charles Barkley's the funniest dude on that panel, and
Shaq is hilarious.
Rightfully so, but everything Shaq does makes me laugh. Like when he was holding the horn, the duck horn, and like or whatever it was, and just blowing it. But my favorite part was for some reason he was holding out the microphone like to Ernie when he was doing it. And every single time he'd blow the horn, he'd like put his arm out as if to put the microphone to amplify the sound, but he'd just go, and it's like, what's the point of that, Shaq?
Yeah.
I loved it. I thought it was so funny.
No, Shaq's funny. He the way he laughs makes me funny, like his silent laugh.
Oh,
whenever what was the one thing they were talking about where Charles was like, man, you gotta bang a dude, man.
When you're banging dudes, and then the other one was when Ernie Johnson said, "Oh, this team's coming," and Barkley's like, "Speaking of coming,"
and then Shaq just laughs silently. Just
oh, he couldn't hold it in, dude. That was so funny.
No, he's funny.
I like the crew, man. I'm not so, like the homeless thing. Yeah, okay, sure, you can get made fun of, but like, there is a homeless issue in in San Francisco. There's
There
no
is, but
doubt.
you don't you,
I've
you
had a
don't need to
dude.
make light
I've
of
had a
it.
dude pee on my Subaru Outback. You know, it's like so the homeless thing is an issue. Even in the financial district, I remember that was really awkward, and I didn't know what to
Wait,
do.
hold on. Did you see did you see said homeless gentleman actually micturate on your Subaru?
I saw
I
him
love that word, by the
actually.
way,
I
micturate.
saw him using my car as a tree. Yeah.
Did you stop him?
I didn't know what to do. I'm not going to stop a man mid pee, and then I'm exaggerating. It wasn't exactly on my Subaru, more below. So some of the splash got up. The little specks,
Oh,
the
I know.
backsplash on it. Yeah.
Backsplash,
So
like Curb Your Enthusiasm.
so exactly. So yeah. I mean, I don't know. I didn't really.
Did he leave a
I
stain?
I didn't do anything. No, I just it's the homeless thing. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm not so uh passionate about San Francisco. I don't know what word to use there. Indebted to the city of San Francisco. Like if
Yeah.
you're gonna make fun of it, that's fine. Like it's not my hometown. I don't know. You can make fun of any hometown to me. You can make fun of Fremont all you want. I don't care about that. Like it's just it's all good natured back and forth. I think my favorite thing though was when Chuck at the end said, "Finally, tell me how the games go. I'm going golfing." Like or whatever.
Yeah, but there's also a part of me that's just like, I know he's there to be him, but at the same time, I'm just like, do you get no joy out of watching basketball too? Or are you just there to get a paycheck?
Of course
Which,
he's there just to get a paycheck. He always
I
talks
know,
about
but it's just
that.
like, you have a great life. Why you gotta be so mean to the Warriors? Just
At
because
least
you didn't think they were gonna win back in 2015?
yeah, I mean there is part of that too. I'd find it more distasteful if I'm like a player and he doesn't know who I am. Like if
Well,
I'm
they've
one of those.
they've definitely done that before.
Yeah, I mean they do the whole who he play for that game, and like they don't even know. I find
Yeah,
that
that's
more.
that's
I
that's
find that more
disrespectful.
disrespectful than just like a fake team hatred.
Yeah, I like when they would do like post game interviews with like Donovan Mitchell, and Shaq's like, I didn't think you were a good player, and Donovan Mitchell's like, okay, Shaq, like you really need to say that to me right now?
Yeah, well, I mean there's the difference in that too. They're trying to push these guys. They trying to say that they're pushing these guys. In reality, they're just
Eh,
being jerks sometimes. But I don't care one way or another. I'm gonna miss that show. I wish that they had Inside the NBA for the finals. I think that would be even funnier. I just like that show overall,
yeah.
and yeah,
Well, they do. I think Shaq and Kenny do NBA TV in the finals, but Chuck goes back to Alabama or wherever.
yeah. He just golfs.
Yeah,
He
it's a good
just
life.
golfs. Yeah,
Shaq, however, had to push Draymond. Not that Draymond's not going to speak his mind, but considering how things went with the Eastern Conference Finals, that could have blown up in Draymond's face big time. And thank God the Celtics won. But he goes on the set post game after the Warriors win the West, and Shaq says to Draymond, "Come on, who he playing in the finals?"
yeah.
And he kind of hesitates at first, then he says the Celtics, and he gave his honest opinion. But that fueled the Heat. I don't care what anybody says. Jimmy Butler saw that, put on some Hootie and the Blowfish, and scored 47 points. And they kicked the Celtics' ass to force a game seven. Udonis Haslem, who doesn't play at all anymore, says that fueled the Heat. So if that would have backfired, that would have been a whole goddamn thing. So
Yeah,
thank
but it
God we
didn't.
avoided that.
It didn't. Was Draymond wrong?
He wasn't wrong, but did he need to say that?
Yes. It's
Why?
because he's got a friggin'
A
budding TV.
brand.
He's got a
He's got a
budding TV.
brand.
He's got a budding TV career. And one of the things you need to do when you're in media is give an answer. And you know what I mean? It's so that's what he was doing. He was giving
I
an
know,
opinion.
but
Who cares if it fueled the Heat? If anything, if it fueled the Heat and the Heat would have won, I'd be feeling a lot better about the Warriors in the finals. I'd be feeling Warriors in 5.
but then all we would have heard is Jimmy Butler just, yeah, Draymond's disrespecting us.
Yeah, that would have been great.
All I want to be with you.
That would have been great. And then maybe it would have forced Jimmy Butler to take another 3 in late in the game when he had time.
Oh, Aram's wondering why we didn't tell anybody about the stream. We told people about the stream.
We
Just,
always tell them.
early at 10 o'clock. And yeah.
Boys are back. How come no one told me? We always tell you. And then Jesse chimed in saying if he's going to complain, he should donate money to a nonprofit helping the homeless. I'm sure
Facts.
Barkley's a very charitable dude.
No, he is. He is.
And that's what gets lost on a lot of people.
Do you like the commercial with Jimmy
I'm not
Butler?
calling you out, Jesse, who's sitting in the bedroom right now. What?
Do you like the commercial with Jimmy Butler singing Hootie and the Blowfish?
Dude, Jesse hates me because of that.
Why?
because I'm just walking around going, sure, here. Ted. You remember Ted,
Yes.
right? It's one.
A-I-O-U.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's my favorite
There
scene
are
in Ted.
two.
You could
Yeah.
do that. You could do that with any song in the '90s. You just got to say the vowels. You don't even need to say anything else.
Yeah. That is a good song. It's the only Hootie song I know besides "Hold My Hand." And well, although I love that I've listened to interviews with Darius Rucker, the lead singer of Hootie the Blowfish. And
Yeah.
it's funny to me that people go up to him and go, "Hey, Hootie!" It's like it's not my fucking name. It's just the name of the band. I'm not
Yeah.
Hootie.
Yeah.
There are two commercials out right now with that song. There's a Jimmy Butler commercial, and there's a Discover Card commercial with.
Mm.
So like what? That's a popular song coming back like 30 years later.
Yeah. Well, it's a great song, man.
It
I
is a great
only
song.
wanna be
Well, the Dolphins
you.
make me cry. It's a Dolphins fan. I don't
Um,
know. That I'm just glad that the Celtics won, and we don't have to worry about that being bulletin board material. I
yeah,
understand.
but
Draymond will go on his podcast and be like, "Was I wrong? I'm just giving my opinion. This is the new media."
well,
But
Game 6 though, man, I'm watching that game and I'm thinking, and you know, the Heat deserve to win that game, and Jimmy Butler, he's such a big game player. I love watching him when the stakes are highest because that's when it seems like he tries the most. It's pretty ironic that, you know, he's always calling out teammates for not having that fire, that passion, that hunger, and he doesn't show that same hunger in the regular season. I mean,
don't you
this dude, if
think?
he was playing like that throughout, he could be the MVP. Hang on, my mom's calling me. I'm gonna decline that. I'll text her.
Hey,
Uh, but
no,
but
get Jenny back on the phone.
that game six, am I wrong in thinking like that game? There were just so many calls against the Celtics that were just
Towards the end there, yeah.
ticky tack fouls that shouldn't have been called. Now, granted, there were a couple of dumb ones on PJ Tucker too, where you're just thinking, okay, like the refs don't have money on either side. They just really they're having a tough time at their job right now, and they're really calling things at a high rate. That's what it felt like in Game 6. But then yesterday in Game 7, very odd situation. I just want to go to the Eastern Conference Finals real quick.
By all means, sir.
That decision, it felt strange in real time, and I'm not going to act like I've been like a whole basketball fan where I'll say, you know, like, oh yeah, I've never in my days have I seen a playoff game where that happens. Like, I'm not going to act like I've watched every single playoff game to say something that strongly, but it didn't feel like when they took away that Strus 3, I'm like, what the hell? You saw that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, like how did that's never happened, right?
Jeff Van Gundy's lack of a voice announced it to him.
Oh my god! I mean, you want to talk about testing positive for COVID? I'm like, this dude, like, what? Does he have COVID right now?
So going back to Game 6, did you see the pregame where Mark Jackson couldn't get through a word?
No.
Oh, Mark Jackson was like, "So tonight we got the Celtics." Excuse me. And he could barely talk. He's got like B-roll to go with what he's talking about.
Oh,
He can't even go through it. He
brutal.
sounds like shit. Then we heard Mike Breen, who, by the way, Mike Breen, great call on the Wiggins dunk, but it's no Tarico with Baron. Like, that was a better call of Tarico doing the Baron Davis, Andre. Oh man!
Yeah, and then you got the QB Brown in the background. Hello.
That's my favorite part of Stevie Brown, like telling a story, and then Tarico's like, "Shut the fuck up!" Oh man!
yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
But yeah, so Mike Breen, who we hope will be on the call for Game 1 of the finals, but he did test positive for COVID, no symptoms. But Mark Jones fills in last night, and then Jeff Van Gundy sounds like he has it. And you sound better right now, but you have tested positive for COVID. I sound terrible because I have allergies. Who knows what Jeff Van Gundy? I'm sure he wasn't putting anybody else at risk, but he did sound like shit last night.
Dude, he sounded terrible. Like,
Yeah.
I was kind of nervous. Because you don't want to take a day off. Like, you never do.
Yeah.
Right. And at the time, on Sunday, I didn't think that I had COVID. I thought I was just, feeling the allergies, but then my voice was just shot. And I don't ever want to, like, the one time I've been in when my voice was just dead and gone, and I went into the studio and people are like, "What, you didn't host?" You didn't host just because you have a scratchy throat, and then I'm talking to them and
Fuck
I
that.
sound terrible. They're like, what, you just because you sound terrible, you're not going to go on air the next day? Come on, man, have some dedication. Um,
Stop
and
it.
and I think that there's a little tongue in cheek when they were saying that, but I was planning on going in on Monday unless I tested. Then in 4 p.m, I decided, okay, you know what, I should probably test just in case. And then the line showed up just like that, and I didn't have to go in the next day, luckily. But he knew it too. Like, you could tell that he had some, like, he didn't have his Jeff Van Gundy drunk uncle at a barbecue watching the game with his family vibes. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like whenever there's a play happening, let's just say it's, you know,
He wasn't chiming in with to say that the wussification of basketball has taken it.
let's just say Jimmy Butler, the big three that Jimmy knocked down. The deficit, it felt like they were down by 9 throughout the entire game, at least in the second half.
Yeah.
And when Butler knocked down that huge pull-up three, like, Jeff Van Gundy, instead of chiming in on like the defense or talking about the play, he'd be like, Jimmy Butler's headband looks different tonight, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And something.
He was
something
much
like
more
that.
reserved.
Yes, he was just kind of like, you know what, I'm going to take a step back here. You could tell. And then Mark Jackson just being Mark Jackson. What was it? Wasn't it the Strus mouth guard? That made me laugh.
I didn't hear that part.
Wasn't it when Strus like knocked down a three? I think it was in the first half. When he cheered, his mouth guard fell out, and you could see all the slobber and the drool along with it. And Mark Jackson's like, "Mama, that's gross."
That's a good line.
He didn't say that.
You need to wipe up your son's mouth.
I made that up.
Oh, you didn't? Damn.
Yeah, he did say that's gross. I wish he would have said Baba before it, though. Mama, there goes that mouth guard.
That's pretty good. The Strus. Well, yeah, man. I mean, like, that's the right call, though. He did step on the line before the three.
Oh God, that was tough.
I know, but like, that's the thing about, like, there needs to be.
Don't you love that Miami Heat fans are like showing the still shot of when he's not, the split second when he's not hitting the line. In reality,
I don't feel sorry for you Miami Heat fans. You will go outside of your homes, look at the beautiful sunshine, and have a great day. You're fine.
Yeah, and COVID doesn't exist out there in Florida, so it's okay.
Yeah, and that is the right call. He did step on the line, even though I hate that they do that like minutes after, where you're like, "What play? What are you talking about?"
That's the thing. Possessions after, man. Like, what?
Scott Foster. It needs to be like the NFL, where Scott Foster like stops and goes, "Hang on, remember that play 5 minutes ago? That's not going to count." All right, back to the game.
Yeah. You remember that touchdown that they scored? Actually, you know what? There was a holding on that play. So you know what? We're going to negate that touchdown. You keep going on offense, opposing team.
God, can you imagine they did that in the NFL? Not to bring up him again, but I will, just because his voice is funny.
Who?
Can you imagine if like Sean McDonough's like, "Well, John, it seems that touchdown from earlier is gone." What are you talking about, man? It's crazy. You out of your mind? You out of your skull?
He would have sent an angry email after that game to the NFL.
Speaking of which, we will talk about the Raiders later. Okay, so let's talk about the Celtics. I thought were the better team yesterday. Even though Jason Tatum kind of had an off game, but in the end, he has not championship pedigree because they've lost 3 Eastern Conference Finals prior to this. But they've been tested before, and I think they were the better team, and I'm happy the Warriors are playing them, even though I think this is going to be a really, really tough matchup. But they did kind of piss away the game at the end, where it was only Tatum who could make a shot, and Marcus Smart is trying to make some threes, and God knows, please don't do that. So then it goes to a 2-point game, and then Jimmy Butler, with 15 seconds left, pulls up and shoots a 3 with a lot of time left on the clock, and it misses. Now, this is a point of contention with everybody today and last night. Wasn't a good shot. I know I kind of agree with Jeff Van Gundy. And Mark Jackson made his points too. I will say this. If Steph Curry makes that shot, if Klay Thompson makes that shot, if a better shooter makes that shot, you can live with that. I am a big clock management guy, so you could have held on to the ball and had the last shot to win the game there, or tie it up. He rushed it a little bit, which I'm not a fan of, but if a better shooter attempts that shot, no one says anything. If Steph Curry makes that play, we're all like, okay, well, it's Steph, you make the shot. in that moment, I don't know if a player's thinking about clock management, but you kind of should. So it's 2 points of contention with me. Was the
Yeah,
shot rushed, or should they even attempted that shot in that moment? And in the end, it's an open shot. If he makes the three, no harm, no foul. Even though they get the ball back and Jason Tatum could win the game for you there, it wasn't like everyone's talking about like, oh, if Jimmy Butler makes that shot, they win the game. Not necessarily. There was 15 seconds left. It's
for
plenty of
sure.
time.
For sure.
So it's kind of like with Aaron Rodgers earlier in week 3 this past season. The Niners scored too quickly and gave the ball back to Aaron Rodgers to have that game-winning field goal. I don't know, hindsight, whatever. I just think that looking back on it, you could have. Yes, it was an open shot. Is Jimmy Butler the best 3-point shooter?
Uh-huh.
He was in Game 6, not this game. I don't know. I just think that you may have thought about kind of having a better play call there and kind of milking the clock a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's tough, man, because because I think the consensus opinion, and if the unpopular one is that that was the right shot to take, but I think the consensus opinion is that he should have either held on to the ball, waited a little bit, or maybe had a little dribble drive penetration and maybe try to draw the foul instead, as opposed to just pulling up and taking the three. But the opposing thing is that Butler had been knocking down that shot from the right wing, the pull up three. He'd been knocking that down a lot in the series and doing it in big time in a big time situation. God, basketball's tough, man. Basketball's so like it's moving so quickly. Like it's not like football where you have time in between each play and you could dissect what you need to do. You really got to make these decisions in real time. And Butler was feeling just so comfortable with that shot that he decided to take it. Now, should it be on us to look at like? Did you see what Jimmy Butler happened to say after the game? Because I honestly didn't, and I
No, I
probably
watched the
should.
press conference last night, but he kind of said, excuse me, Jeff
Ooh,
Van Gundy. Eric Spolstra said, I live and die with that. You know, he's a
yeah,
great player.
yeah,
He'll make that shot every time, and I'm okay with it. Jimmy
yeah.
Butler, what is he going to say? No, he can't make that shot. I think Bam Adebayo did the same thing after he ripped off his jersey with just like one like Superman swoop,
Mm-hmm.
like it had buttons on. Good lord.
Yeah.
Um, I think all the Heat players were okay with that attempt in the end. And, I'm sure there's some people, behind closed doors that be like, yeah, we kind of rushed that. But, was anybody else going to make that shot in that moment? Was Tyler Hero on the court? No.
No, he was in a
So,
hoodie.
yeah. Um, so yeah, that's the one thing too, is the Heat, while they are a great defensive team and they have, 3-point shooters here or there, it's crazy in the East sometimes. Like they are more of a defensive oriented, conference. So
Yeah.
you'll have like games from some of these guys offensively,
Right.
which
But
is
you
why
know
I think
what?
the Warriors will be okay in the series, but we'll get to that in a little bit here.
No, that's the takeaway there. Whether Jimmy Butler should or shouldn't have taken the shot, he didn't make it, and they didn't win. I
Yeah.
think the larger point, that's the larger talking point here, is that they shouldn't have been in that position.
The
Like the
Celtics?
Celtics, yeah, like there shouldn't have been a situation where Jimmy Butler has a chance to tie the game if he makes a three with 15 seconds left in the game.
Yeah.
There shouldn't have been that shot because 3.5 minutes left. You're up by 13. Like it wasn't just the bad shooting on offense, the poor shot to selection, and just really rushing things, like you mentioned, Marcus Smart just hacking up threes. It's not just that, but it was also the defense that they were playing. They were just letting the Heat get whatever they wanted. And so, to be honest, when I'm thinking about it, it's making me like the chances of the Warriors like that much more because late game decisions by the Celtics.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not. I mean, it's kind of the opposite of his last name. It's not very smart, the
I
way
can
that
see
they were
that.
going about it. And Ime Udoka, fantastic coach. And it's great. It's reminiscent of those Warriors teams when a new you have that Brad Stevens come in, and then all of a sudden you get a new coach with Ime Udoka, and he's the one that takes them to this just entirely new level. It's kind of reminiscent of the Warriors and Mark Jackson and Steve Kerr, and the fact that he has the superstars that Brad Stevens had. He just played them a little differently, and
Yeah.
and they were uh, better in the playoffs overall. But man, he's still a rookie coach, and rookie coaches are going to make rookie mistakes. And when Steve Kerr was winning those championships, it's not like he was up going against, veteran coaches with his time either, veteran coaches in the finals. You
David
know what I
Blatt.
mean? So David Blatt, you had shout out to Dibs for that one. Yeah, God, his David Blatt thing that made me laugh so hard every time. David Blatt. But it's not like he was going up against a veteran head coach in the finals who's been there before. Steve Kerr has, so I feel like they got the edge in coaching as far as late game decisions, and they got the edge in championship pedigree. So really, the endings of that game made me feel a lot better about this upcoming final. It really did.
Agreed, Steven. So it will be the Warriors and Celtics. And yeah, shout out to Ime Doka for first season as Celtics head coach. Got to be weird that Brad Stevens is GM and now he's like, this guy did what I couldn't. But
Yep.
regardless, it's a team effort. And I didn't know this, but hopefully she comes to the Bay Area. I didn't know that Ime Udoka is dating or married to Debbie from Friday. Nia
Really?
Long. Oh yeah.
Really? Oh, that's right.
I want to get next to you.
Yeah. What did I see? I you know what? I saw a headline for that, and it was on Twitter, and the headline was Ime Udoka's girlfriend, and they referred to her as the
Debbie.
girl from Friday and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or something like that.
Was she a Fresh Prince?
Yeah, I think so, or whatever it was. I don't remember the show, but someone quote tweeted and said, "That girl, excuse me, that is Nia Long." He referred to her as Nia Long, and I'm like,
Nia
"You're
Long,
right."
man.
And Nia Long of Are We There Yet fame.
Yes, she's always in Ice Cube movies.
Yeah. So I
yeah,
didn't know. That's crazy.
Yeah, they showed her at one of the games, and I was like, oh, good for him.
Yeah.
Dude,
I mean, did Cannon didn't show up? Curry's son, he didn't show up on the podium, did he?
No.
Yeah, Steph's not going to do that again.
Is he still a little chubby baby?
I don't know. I mean, he's like walking around and everything. I was just I'm just looking at that family, and I'm just every time
before our eyes, Steve.
Every time I see Riley Curry, it's
God, that makes me feel old as shit.
It's legit like seeing, I've never really been this dude who could say like, "Oh my God, you got so big," because I'm like the youngest in my family. But I know how it feels to be that guy where everyone in the family says, "Oh my God, I haven't seen you in years. You're so big. You're so grown up." Like that's how I feel toward Riley Curry. I'm like, "Oh my God, you're so big."
That was me this past couple of times I went to Buffalo where all my family members saw me for the first time. And I was like, "Oh, Derek, you're old.
Yeah,
you have no hair now."
Eesh. That's brutal.
Happens.
Yeah, I know. I'm always that guy too. I'm the baby of the family.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah, you're just all hella old.
You're all old.
Yeah.
So it will be the Warriors and Celtics, and I am very excited for this series because I got tired of the Cavs fast. After we beat them the second time, the third time we played them, I wanted the Celtics to play the Warriors in that 2018 finals because that Cavs team sucked. So I wanted something new, and I'm very interested in this. And I know we played LeBron. I know we played Kawhi, but the Celtics, since the Warriors became the Warriors with Steve Kerr in 2014, they're the only team to have a winning record against the Warriors. They're 9-7 since 2014.
Wow.
So while we have played bigger names, this is probably the biggest franchise the Warriors have played in the finals. This will be a ratings bonanza for ABC. But I know I know the Warriors have played LeBron. I know the Warriors have played Kawhi and have lost to both of those guys and their teams. But just as far as a matchup, I think this is going to be the toughest series, with the toughest finals, but toughest series the Warriors have ever played. Just because these guys can match up with them. I can't remember a time Steph Curry's had a great game against the Celtics. It was always Avery Bradley D'ing him up, and he's not there anymore. But just their speed, they just bang on you, to take it from Charles Barkley. They will bang the Warriors, and Mike Breen will bang, hopefully. But I think this is going to be a very tough matchup because I think the Celtics match up very well with the Warriors.
Yeah, they got size, man. That's the number one thing that you could see. Like that was one of the things that Jeff Van Gundy would say, even though there's a play going on and Mike Breen's in the middle of like a play-by-play call. Like Jeff Van Gundy would just be like, "Look at the size that the Heat are using against the Celtics are using against the Heat right now. Look how much bigger these players are." And that's going to be the biggest difference between these two teams, at least when they match up. Now comparing the Celtics to those Cavs teams that they played. This team's a lot deeper than that. Derek White has made some huge shots coming off the bench. Grant Williams is of that same ilk of, Marcus Smart and Draymond Green, where you're kind of undersized, but you still play really tough defense and you're going to leave them open for a three because you're not so focused on them making shots. You're focused on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Like they got plenty of pieces, and not to mention you got Al Horford who can knock down a couple of threes too. You've seen him have some big games in these playoffs, so
Shout out to him.
It's gonna be tough. Yeah, shout out to Al Horford, man.
Long-time guy, veteran, now making the finals. Good for him.
Yeah, I mean, like what was it? The Hawks teams with Josh Smith and God, who was Jeff Teague and yeah, those Hawks
That
teams
was Mike
back.
Budenholzer's like first team he coached.
Yeah, when just thinking back to all that, like Al Horford, dude, is crazy.
Yeah.
But compared to those Celtics teams, they got their star in Tatum, but Jaylen Brown shouldn't be forgotten about. Good God, if you manage to get to Jaylen Brown's way and you could set your feet, I mean, you could draw a charging call damn near on every possession with that dude. He just comes in like a bat out of hell whenever he's barreling toward the hoop with just no regard for human life whatsoever. If you could set your feet and get in front of him, kind of like Kyle Lowry was doing in that game 7, woo! I mean, that could be pretty good. But compared to those Cavs teams, I got to look back. I got to look back at those rosters. But I remember thinking, like those Cavaliers teams, besides LeBron, and of course, they had Kyrie, and that's part of the reason why, people dismiss that those winning teams is because, oh, they didn't have Kevin Love. Oh, they didn't have Kyrie, blah, 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 like whatever. But those Cavs teams, it didn't feel like they were all that deep when the Warriors were playing them and they made them to the finals.
2015, 2016, they were good teams because Kyrie and Kevin were there. Take
a look.
That 2018 team was terrible, in my opinion. That was the one where J.R. Smith fucked up game 1. They were just not a good team.
Yeah, I mean, like looking at this now, oh gosh, Dellavedova.
Oh my God, I hated that.
Yeah,
God, I hated that.
Dellavedova, and wow, Joe Harris was actually on that team. I don't know if he played in those final teams though. Yeah, but then you had like Timofey Mozgov, which ended up getting him a huge contract with the Lakers after that. It was like a 4-year, $72 million deal.
A lot of frauds.
Yeah, just a lot of guys who, a lot of number 3, number 4, maybe best types of players on their teams. I mean, it's just,
LeBron
nobody
carried those teams.
Yes, and it's so, I mean, Amon Shumpert, I guess he played some meaningful minutes whenever he came in, but just looking at that, like I'd say that the Celtics are much more dangerous just looking at, the 7 or 8 man rotation, whatever they're going to roll out there like that. Those 7 or 8 men that they're going to throw out are a lot more dangerous than the 7 or 8 men that the Cavs have ever thrown out. So, I mean, that's the way that I'm looking at it. But man, the Warriors, you're waiting for everybody to have that good game. It doesn't feel like they've all clicked at the same time. It feels like when one's going off, then the other's not,
Yeah.
And by that, I'm meaning Steph, Clay, Poole, all of them scoring 20-plus points. You're not really seeing that too much. And then Kevon and Wiggins and Draymond still doing what they're doing. Draymond, by the way, being aggressive, that's been huge in this series. He's clearly woken up from that, like from whatever dream he was having of deciding to not go to the rim. I'm kind of babbling on here. My bad.
No,
but
babble.
Damn, man. They're back at the finals, man.
I know.
That's crazy.
It feels good. It feels good. What about that Raptors team? Was that I know LeBron's a great player. Was that Raptors team the best overall team the Warriors have faced?
Yeah. I mean,
okay. Well, in comparison, that we only had Kevin Durant for one game. So just take KD out of it, the Raptors were a better team, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Once KD came back for that 12 minutes, we were the better team. There was no way they were going to beat us.
Yeah.
But
No, you're right, man. With those teams with
Kawhi,
Kawhi and
Lowry,
Fred VanVleet and Lowry and all those dudes.
Fred
yeah.
VanVleet, like that's like who on the Celtics right now is probably going to guard Steph?
Probably, I don't know. Maybe Marcus Smart. Probably Smart.
Yeah.
Smart's probably going to be the number one dude.
Marcus Smart can guard anybody.
That's the thing about their team.
Yeah, they all do.
They all really can guard the perimeter.
Yeah. It's going to be tough.
Keeping Robert Williams out the paint, Time Lord. I love that nickname, by the way. That's my favorite nickname.
Time Lord?
Yeah, Time Lord. It's sarcastic. It's an ironic nickname because he's always late.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
What about
so
White? I'm spacing on his first name.
Who?
White?
Derek.
He might be on stuff.
It's your name.
Oh, it's a forgettable name.
It's your name. I think it's spelled Derrick.
Oh, he's a Rick.
Yeah. No, I'm correct there.
He's not a real Derek. My mom always tells me, I didn't name you Rick. I named you Derek.
But you think Derek White? I mean, he's coming off the bench though.
Nah, maybe. I don't know. Hey, we make Gary Payton may come back in this series too.
Yeah, that's crazy. He's not going to be 100%, but man, if he can keep his hands active and you get another piece off the bench,
well, we need him against this team.
Yes, like I know that Bielitsa had a fantastic game 5, but I mean,
you can't expect
that. You can't expect that game after game after game from Bielitsa. I do think though, one thing we could draw from this series that's going to look different. I think Moses Moody has done enough to earn minutes over Damian Lee. Like he hasn't made nearly as many mistakes as Jonathan Kuminga has, gotten the rookie jitters when he's on offense. It looks like he's calm, composed, and letting the game come to him. I think Moses Moody, just as much as any guys on that bench unit, he's earned more minutes in this next series, in my opinion. I don't know how he'd match up with the Celtics, but I think he'd bring another wrinkle into that offense. And, he could shoot the three. He can float it. He can lay the ball up. I mean, he could do everything. So I think he's earned a lot of minutes in this one coming up.
It's going to be fascinating, Steven. So let's pick it. And before we do, just a quick recap. You picked the Heat. I picked the Celtics.
Yeah.
We will pick the Warriors. I won't make you do it today because I know you're battling COVID. But we'll get you doing hot sauce again.
Yeah. All right. Fantastic.
All right.
Good.
Let's do our finals picks for wins or wangs. Oh, yes. All right, Steven, it's simple. Warriors, Celtics, Joe Lacup's former team. That's right. He was a minority owner of the Celtics back when the KD and Ray Allen and Paul Pierce days. And now he's rooting for his team and the Golden State Warriors. You got Ime Udoka, who was a former Greg Popovich assistant, going up against Steve Kerr, who's a former he played for Popovich, never was an assistant.
Disciple, like a disciple.
Regardless, this may be the most fierce and competitive matchup in the Warriors' finals runs, in all 6 of them. But regardless, Steven, in the end, it'll be a battle royale to the finish. I say this game goes 7, or the series goes 7, and I am taking the Warriors.
I'm the same way, and
well, that's fun.
Well, yeah. Well, what the hell? I'm not sure.
I know.
I've been trying to pick different. I've been trying to pick different this entire time. You know,
you might as well just pick the same as me, so then you can avoid the hot sauce.
Yeah, but Game 7, I think, or Game 7, Chase Center. I think it's going to happen. It's just that's the storybook ending, and I mean, I don't know if. I don't know how it's going to get to Game 7. I don't know if it's going to be like I thought with that Mavs series where I just didn't think any road team was going to get a victory. I could see them, splitting in Golden State, splitting in Boston, and then winning one at home each, and then it comes back for Game 7 for the Warriors to beat them. I don't know. Would you want it to be the same type of series as it was with the Heat, where, to be honest with you, man, looking back on it, there were 7 games in the series, right?
Yeah.
But none of these games were all that competitive. It felt like it was just one blowout after another. Do you want it to be that type of series, or where it comes down to a close game in Game 7 finally, or do you want it to be the type where it's, competitive every game, damn near close every game?
I think it's going to be a mix.
Yeah.
I think that okay, this is the way I see it going. The Celtics just finished a 7-game series with the Heat where they got beat up, and they got to travel across the country to go play the Warriors on Thursday. I don't know if they'll be ready in time, so I'm going to pick the Warriors in Game 1. Game 2, that's where things kind of get a little weird, so I think the Celtics tie the series up. And that, I don't see that being a blowout. I can see the Warriors blowing them out in Game 1 and then losing a close game in Game 2. Then they go back to Boston. Warriors, they play good on the road, and they shoot well, and they take a 2-1 lead. Celtics come back and just dominate the Warriors, kind of let them guard down a little bit. So that series is tied up 2-2. And we go back to Chase Center. Warriors go up 3-2. Celtics tied up 3-3 in Boston, and then we have Game 7, and the Warriors squeak out a nail biter, but win the series and win the championship.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to go, but I could see them again. Like I said, I see them splitting each home series. So I see them splitting the ones in Chase Center. I see them splitting the ones in the Garden, and then Game 5 and Game 6. I see both of those, the home teams winning, and then the Warriors eventually winning Game 7. I just don't know if my heart's going to be able to take it. If, and this is a big if, but we shouldn't forget it. We can't forget it, and I'm sure he's keeping it on his mind too. But we need to remember Draymond Green still has those 2 flagrant foul points. Ooh. Like, this dude, he can't be getting a flagrant foul in Game 1 and then a random one in Game 4. Like, you can't have that happen. He can't have 2 flagrant fouls in this series, or else the Warriors are screwed. Like, that's just it. So that's gonna be like a big key for me. It's like just Draymond being the same Draymond that he is. You can get technicals, that's fine. I don't think he's approaching that number where he's going to get suspended with the technical. But as far as getting flagrants, needs to be careful there. These guys go to the rim a lot. They go to the rim a lot, and there's a very real possibility that Draymond could, put a hand in the face, and it might be unnecessary contact, but it gets to the point where it gets called a flagrant one. I'm nervous about that part. I think we've kind of overlooked the fact that Draymond still has 2 flagrant foul points to his name.
Yeah, but I think he'll be able to compose himself, hopefully. But
he's shown a different side to himself this series for sure.
It's going to be a physical series, so he'll have to control himself. So yeah, we both have the Warriors winning in 7, and hopefully that goes that way. Before we get out of here, Steven, just a few topics I want to touch on. Colin Kaepernick finally got a workout with the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm happy for him. I think that was needed just to show that, the NFL is over him saying things.
Right.
But in reality, I hate to be negative, but I think it's a PR move. And we didn't see Colin Kaepernick get signed, and I don't think he is going to get signed by the Raiders. 4 weeks ago, whatever it was, the Raiders got, allegations against Mark Davis from Danny Ventrelli.
Yeah.
And then this workout happens a day after the John Gruden's lawsuit is going to become a thing. This will become a thing. It's not going away, and he may win the case. So, to get good PR, they're going to work on Colin Kaepernick to make the franchise look good. I don't think Colin Kaepernick, fits what the Raiders are trying to do right now. I think they were just trying to, look good, do good by him. Who knows? They may need him later on. Hopefully not. Not saying that because, that would be a distraction or anything, just because that means something happened to Derek Carr. So, in the end, I don't see this happening. I thought it was nice, but this isn't like the good-hearted nature of the Raiders back in the day with Al Davis hiring Amy Trask or Art Shell. This is just them trying to have good PR, in my opinion.
Okay. I mean, do you not think, though, that maybe these guys have seen Nick Mullins and Jarrett Stidham, and they have watched Colin Kaepernick work out, and maybe he can bring a different dynamic to this team other than those backup quarterbacks?
I don't think so, just because that's not the type of scheme that Josh McDaniels runs. And when asked about it, McDaniels kind of looked, I'm not going to say put off by it, but kind of just like, I was forced to do this.
You think so?
Just the way he kind of was just like shrugging it off and kind of like
Yeah.
there's nothing intimate about signing him. Um, I don't know. I thought it was a show, to be completely honest.
Okay.
And I think it's gone too past the point of Colin Kaepernick getting a job right now. It's sad just because I do think he got blackballed. He was not the greatest player in the world when this happened to him, but there should have been an opportunity given to him. But I just feel like it's just good PR at this time.
Yeah. I mean, you could be right. I looked at it in a way like, man, they. It's not like he's going to take Derek Carr's job if he does end up making the team, but man, they're really going out there and showing like, hey, man, we're really giving you this 1 year with that contract, potential out next season. We're giving you this 1 year to test you. Like, and you better pass that test, or else we're going to have some backup quarterbacks who are ready and waiting. I mean, you could be right. You could be, because they're in need of that the good PR stunt. And I wouldn't put it past any NFL team to do that. Like, who doesn't love good PR, especially when you're going as badly as it's gone for you. I mean, I don't know. Could that have been the reason why the Dolphins hired a guy like Mike McDaniel, who is just kind of safe? This is kind of likable guy. I don't know. Could they have done that as a PR move too? Maybe. Trading for Tyreek Hill, I don't guess that does anything for their PR exactly. But
yeah, good point.
So I don't know, man. I don't know. I didn't really make much of it. It's just it's Colin Kaepernick. I believe that he has a place in the league, but I don't know with Kaepernick anymore. Like I don't know. I mean, I could only watch so many workout videos of him in a cut sleeve shirt where he rolls out to his right and then hits an open receiver, but doesn't have any linemen running at him or any team around him or anything. Like, I can only make out so much from those types of videos. I really don't know. I really don't know what the point of it is. And besides, like, I don't know. What kind of good PR is it? All right, you're working out Colin Kaepernick and then you don't sign him to the team. Like, what does that, like,
we tried. We tried. It's kind of like what Pete Carroll during the pandemic was like saying, like, I love Colin Kaepernick. I would sign him if I could. But why don't you? Well, Russell Wilson, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it's I think just people just do things now just because they feel bad about what happened to him. And it sucks, but I think his time has passed. It's been since 2016 since he's played.
Right.
No fault to his own. Yeah, it sucks. If I was him, I know it's not, going to be a popular thing, but I would go to the XFL or any of these other leagues. Not XFL.
The FFL, where you could celebrate with a joint.
Can you?
Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, the fan-controlled football league. I forgot what this dude's name is, but he celebrated by lighting up he threw a touchdown, and then he went to the sideline, and his friend was holding a joint for him, and he lit up a joint as he just puts up his face mask.
Wow.
And then what he say? I don't know why he said this. Maybe the team that he was playing were called the Glaciers or something. But he's like, smoking on that Glacier pack. Smoking on that Glacier pack. And I'm like, all right, this guy's kind of a tool. But he smoked a joint on the sideline to celebrate.
Hey, good for him. I don't think Colin Kaepernick would do that.
No, he would not. I'm not saying Colin Kaepernick would do that. I'm just saying there are benefits to going to this fan-controlled football league.
He could do whatever he wants. You would be the star, like the USFL, any of that. You're probably not getting the same amount of money. So that sucks. And it's not a big platform. But you would be the star of that league and you would own it. And that would be a platform to say what you like. I don't know. Yeah, I thought it was a PR move. I don't think it's going to happen. And I feel bad for him. But yeah.
I mean, it's probably it's going to go the same as it always does. They work him out.
Yeah,
nothing's going to happen. OTAs are going on. The thing I'm like, gosh, I am so boring. But when I'm watching the Raiders OTAs, the number one thing I'm waiting for is like I don't care about what Carr and Adams look like in workouts. Like, show me on the field when they're playing in week 1. Like, I can't wait for that. But when it comes to OTAs, like, the one thing I'm paying attention to is Alex Leatherwood, because they're like switching it between guard and tackle right now. They don't know which way to put him. Actually, I did a Sirius XM hit. Shout out to that.
Ooh.
For their fantasy football show, and they were getting really frustrated with me because they were asking me about Josh Jacobs and what they were going to do. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm supposed to give him a better answer than that, but like, they're not picking up his 5th-year option. How do you think they're going to use Jacobs? I don't know. They're probably going to run him into the ground. How am I supposed to know how they're like? What are you hearing? I'm like,
Give us a goddamn answer, Steven.
They're like, what are you hearing? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not hearing anything. Like, like I'm not a reporter. I just have an opinion, and quite frankly, I don't have much of an opinion on Josh Jacobs and what he's going to do. I said my opinion solely comes from what are they going to do with the offensive line? How is Dylan Parnham or whatever his name is? How is
Dylan Parnham from Mississippi?
How is he going to fit in? What are they going to do with Leatherwood on the right side? How are they going to shore up that offensive line? I said that's my number one thing. I'm not even focusing on the running backs. And then eventually, they moved to Derek Carr and stuff.
Yeah, how the hell are you supposed to answer anything about fantasy right now?
It's not fantasy. It's just me talking. What are you hearing about Josh Jacobs and the workload and how Josh McDaniels is going to use him? I don't know.
Was it a fantasy related question?
No.
Okay.
No. They were just, they were trying to. I think they got some intel, and I'm like some sort of reporter or something. I'm like, no, dude, I'm just like a
your producer fucked up. You booked the wrong.
I'm a Raider fan. You know what I mean? I don't know anything. Yeah, especially at OTAs. I'm not at OTAs. I'm not watching these dudes.
Yeah, they probably thought you were in Vegas.
They really did. And you know what? I'm at home, and it turns out that my voice is just shattered because this was right before I tested positive for COVID.
Oh, God. Do you have this interview saved? I would love to hear this.
No.
Damn it. I was one of the hosts being like, you're giving me nothing here, Steven. You're giving me nothing.
They they gave me that, they gave me the follow-up question of like, okay, so, but like, what do you think though with this? And I'm like, I don't know. Like I literally told him, I don't know, which is like the worst.
I don't know. Ask Tafer. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, seriously. Like get Sean Reed on here. He's trying to be an up and coming star here in the media game. Let him do it.
Paul Gutierrez.
Yeah. But I gave him some good stuff on Carr though. Great stuff on Carr.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your team, the San Francisco Giants, real quick, Steven. Ooh. They had quite the weekend. They won yesterday, scoring 6 runs in the 8th to beat the Reds. And yes, everybody, I know I'm still an A's fan, but I got to pay attention to the Giants now. They work for KNBR. Sorry, everybody.
Ooh.
It is what it is. And I'm going to the A's game today, so I got to wrap this up pretty soon. But Giants. Gabe Kapler comes out on Friday and says he's not going to stand for the national anthem anymore. Good for him. You can do whatever you want with that. It's my opinion. He's going to do something today, though, I guess, for Memorial Day. But I never seen this before, Steven. So Jake McGee was supposed to pitch Friday night. You watched the game, right?
Nope.
Okay. Did you see this, though? Jake McGee was supposed to pitch in relief. First game he's coming back in a while. And he is not on the lineup card, so he can't pitch.
Huh.
He comes out, starts to pitch, and then the umpires are like, no, he's not on the lineup card. Get him out of there.
Wow.
And Gabe Kapler, the postgame, was just like, yeah, we fucked up.
Well, it happens.
Yeah, it does.
In what situation was that, though? Because, like,
I don't know the whole situation, but I just watched it with my pops, and it was just like, you hear Dave Fleming go, and something's going on here. Is Jake McGee? He's not on the lineup card. Oh, boy.
Wait, when you don't remember which, because, like, to be honest, man, I was just so entrenched in this fantasy football beef with Tommy Pham and Jock Peterson. Like, that was the only thing I was really like paying attention to. Like, the Giants and the Reds, that series, it did nothing for me. And as I kept on seeing that, because I watched that game with the sound off, I think.
Yeah.
I think I watched that with the sound off, and I just kept on looking and seeing that, like, Rodon gives up a home run. What the hell? But to a guy on my fantasy team, so I was happy about it. But so when was it after?
I couldn't tell you the inning. It's late in the game, but it was.
So it was probably after, like, it was probably when they were down 3-0.
Yeah.
Or maybe when they were down 3-1. And
all I know is I was watching it. I was watching it, and it was a bad mess up. Not the first time this ever happened before, I'm sure. But
gosh, Friday night watching a Giants Reds matchup where the Reds are just up 3-0 and the Giants bats couldn't get going. That must have been fun.
It was thrilling. But I was interested in just because you heard about Jock Peterson and Tommy Pham in the pregame When I was a kid, I remember going to an Angels Rangers game, and there was a fight before the game because of something that preceded the night before. That happens before. Managers have yelled at other managers in pregame, but I've never heard of someone getting slapped, Will
Yeah.
Smith style, because of a goddamn fantasy league. This is
Yeah.
insane. And props to Jock Peterson for coming out on yesterday, saying, "Yeah, this is it was the most like troll job of just being like, I apologize to everyone I offended.
Yeah.
Here, I've kept the receipts. Here's the gifts I sent. It was hilarious. Tommy fan needs to chill the fuck out. I understand that it's fantasy football and you can't be messing with people's money. There was a lot of grand on the table for this fantasy league, but relax. You can't be putting hands on a dude because of a fantasy league. Good lord.
Ends friendships, man. It ends friendships.
Apparently.
But you know what though?
Can you
Like,
imagine if you and I did that in the Tickle My Butthole League?
yeah, I know. But we still talk crap, right?
We talk crap. We're never gonna punch you. Like, it's ridiculous.
True. That's just, it's so funny that it took a fantasy football beef for him to do that. Like the one time that I recall when we've seen a player who waited to get retaliation was Rougned Odor waiting an entire offseason until they played the Blue Jays so that he could sock Jose Bautista in the face.
Yeah.
That's because of a bat flip, a disrespectful bat flip at that. And that was one where there was some beef that was stemming over. This, he waited a year and a half till he got in the same outfield as Jock so he could slap him over a gif of the world's strongest man. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. And if there's any way to, what's the word? I mean, is this even like I'm thinking of the word. If there's any way to ingratiate yourself to the Giants fan base, if they, didn't like you because you were a Dodger and you went on and I'll keep repeating it. I was shocked when they signed him because I'd never seen a fan base, or at least the Giants fan base, boo anyone harder than Jock Peterson when it's just an opposing player. I mean, they do it with Manny Machado and stuff with the Padres, but Jock Peterson, like outside of the division, they still did not like him. And the fact that they signed him, I was shocked by that. But slowly but surely, whether it's him, crushing it in a right field, going on a little streak with home runs, or bunting for singles, because he was starting to do that early in the season. This dude, like, time and time again, he's just made you like him more and more. I didn't like Jock at all, but like this whole thing, you don't have many players like this on the Giants, man, where they have they have beefs with other players and there's not even a real beef. It's just him being a dick in the group chat about fantasy football.
Yeah.
I love it, man. They don't have players like this. I love it.
It's definitely interesting. And what was the word used? Ingratiate?
Ingratiate, yes.
Yeah, I think that's a great word because he's done like the 3 home run game he had against the Mets. That was great.
Yeah.
Talking about Barry Bonds.
I have an issue with that, actually. One real quick. Can I just say real quick on that?
Yeah.
Why are we calling that one of the greatest games this season when they came back from like an 8-run deficit? It's not that doesn't count. Like that was a bad game by the Giants. They should not have let them come back from that lead. Like they shouldn't have.
But they beat the Mets, Steven, who's one of the best teams in the NL right now.
Okay. So what?
You had 3 home game and some of them were splash hits.
They shouldn't have been there.
Oh, Steven.
And we get so fooled. Oh, yeah, it's the greatest game ever played this season. It's like, yeah, not if you're a Giants fan.
But it's a comeback. Who doesn't love a good comeback?
I hate that. Although, I'm just kind of maybe, the 20 game.
It was a great performance by Jock.
The 20-game win streak from the A's. No one ever really talks about, the Royals coming back from that 11-run deficit or whatever it was. So I guess,
exactly.
All that matters in the end is that you won. Okay, maybe I was just salty because I was watching that game. I'm like, damn, Giants are doing some damage. And then when they kept coming back, I'm like, geez, the Giants really suck. And then, they ended up winning that game.
It's the end result, Steven. You got Billy Beane to turn the car back around and watch the game.
True. Yeah, I was hearing it on the truck radio, and I, then I recklessly went across the freeway so I could try and go back to watch it.
Ernie's on the stream now. Been waiting for him.
Ernie, unbelievable.
I know we did a poor job of telling people we're doing a 10 a.m. Podcast.
We need to start hashtagging this thing too, like getting it out to more people. We just put like a very so.
I don't know how to hashtag, Steven.
All you do is hashtag. Just hashtag.
All right. Yeah, good for Jock Peterson. He has a three home run game.
Yeah.
And then he does this with Tommy Pham. I think Giants fans will appreciate him now.
Yeah, I think Jock Peterson's officially like, not a fan favorite, nowhere near a fan favorite, but he's definitely he's in. He's in the Giants realm. I don't know what the hell to call it, but
yeah, that works.
Whatever.
Realm. Real quick here.
Circle.
This made me laugh. Grant Cohn and Javon Kinlaw.
Oh God.
So I know Grant Cohn, and he goes about things a certain way. Listen, he's done a great job covering the team. I am not a particular fan of the way he goes about doing things, but that's his prerogative. This was hilarious to me, though. I'm sorry. It's just Javon Kinlaw then coming on his YouTube and saying his balls are small or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your body could turn cold when I got there. Look.
All while having cashews or whatever.
Yeah, he's munching on something.
never just spitting it all out and not swallowing whatever was in his mouth before he was talking. As he was talking, it was so funny.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna hold my tongue on certain things, but I just thought it was funny that Javon Kinlaw was doing that.
Yeah, I don't know Grant personally. I do know that he was the first guy that I ever interviewed when I was on the air. And when you're on the air and you're hosting, that I think that for me that was the number one thing was interviewing guests. I'm a little more comfortable doing it now, but at first, just interviewing guests to me, it was just so. I'm like, who am I? You know what I mean? Like these guys have no clue who I am. And Grant made it like because Grant, I was hosting with Tommy Call, and Grant knew Tommy. So in turn, it made it feel like he knew me too. And he's like, referencing by my name and all this stuff and making you feel good as a host. So I was like, all right, you know what? I get down with Grant Cohn. I'm a Grant Cohn guy. But
you're in the Cohn zone.
Is it really and didn't Elena go to high school with him? She said he was cool. She said he was a cool dude.
Listen, so, I don't know him personally.
Yeah.
I just heard, people say he's a good dude. I'm just not a fan about the way he goes about doing particular things.
And maybe the way that he was covering Javon Kinlaw is very unfair because Kinlaw's just not getting on the field and getting after a guy for that. But I liked what Kinlaw said, about criticizing whatever he can do when he's on the field. Like if he's playing like shit, you can say that you're playing like shit and he'll be okay with it because it's the truth, but like slandering his name like that when really he hasn't got, he's gotten a real opportunity here and there, but that was a big season for him. It could have been a big season for him last year. So just kind of kicking a guy while he's down. I'm not totally shocked that, Kinlaw did that. Maybe he could have gone about it in a smarter way and not have.
I'm sure the Niners weren't happy about his choice of words.
not having food in your mouth at the same time, but whatever. Javon Kinlaw it's Kinlaw, man. I'm not going to disrespect that dude.
And honestly, it was kind of nice to hear a athlete kind of clap back at somebody for disrespecting them. That's all we care about. I know you. Last week we were talking about Patrick Beverly, just someone speaking honest. He was speaking honest. He was like, I don't like the way you were covering me, and. Then you saw other tweets from like Fred Warner and Eric Armstead saying like this isn't acceptable, and it's not. So I'm not saying that anything needs to happen to Grant Cohn. I just think that maybe go about things a little better. But hey, who am I to say that?
I don't know, man. It's very it's a ballsy way to go about it, for lack of a better term. Yeah, for lack of a better term, when thinking about that whole thing, but. I couldn't when I saw that. I couldn't.
My favorite part. Your body turned cold.
It seemed like at first Kinlaw was kind of making light out of it, and then as time went on, that's when he really started to. Get angry.
It was reminiscent of, you ever seen the old clip of Michael Strahan in the Giants locker room where he was eating something? It just reminds me because the food's in his mouth, and he's like, some woman, a female reporter, is talking to Michael Strahan. It's when Strahan and Plaxico Burress were getting into something, and he was like, "Come here, come talk to me. Try to look a man in the eye when you try to kill him." it was it was just so, he's like eating something at the same time, and it's just like the same kind of
Yeah.
demeanor. I thought Strahan was kind of being a jerk then. I kind of agree with Kinlaw though on his thing, but the whole thing was hilarious to me. And in the grand scheme of things, yeah, I think Grant has the right to do what he likes, but also you are around players and they may clap back at you.
Yeah, if like, and especially from our vantage point, like people calling out Kinlaw for, not acting right and maybe going off when he shouldn't have, trying to be a professional. You know what, man? Like, I always say this, and especially when it comes to guys like, I don't know, like Kevin Durant or anyone that we chastise anyone that we chastise through the media, any players that we do, I always try and look at it from the standpoint of, well, what if I were in their shoes? Like, I know when I'm getting just questioned by my family or, like by anybody, I kind of like start to get heated after a while. Like if they're asking me the same stuff over and over again and I don't really have an like, I don't know. I just try and look at it from like his perspective. And if I was Kinlaw and I was a professional athlete, first round pick, and I was hurt, and a guy who, quite frankly, like, we got to be honest, a lot of people listen to Grant Cohn. A lot of people read what he writes, and a lot of people take his word. Like there's like a cult for Grant Cohn, and
a cult cone,
like exactly
a cone cult.
And if I if they, like, they love him, and if
he has his audience. Listen.
If I'm a player, man, and I see him mouthing off like that, and part of the audience is a large portion of it, everyone is a 49er fan, I wouldn't be feeling too good about that.
Yeah. I say this because we're both sons of Bay Area legends, so I understand how hard it is sometimes.
Huh?
Well, he's the son of Lil Cone.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yep.
So I know how hard it is sometimes to be compared and everything. You gotta, try to make yourself different than.
I thought you were talking about me. I was like, we are? Like, I'm not a son.
Yeah.
I mean, Jenny is a Bay Area legend, I guess.
So was your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Empire. Hey, shout out to your dad. But yeah, there's certain things I wouldn't do, and like he definitely has an audience and people respect him, and I don't know if the players respect him now, but yeah, I wouldn't go about things that way. But hey, more power to him. He's making an audience for himself.
Yep. I don't know, man. I just like whenever stuff happens like that with athletes, it's just I try to put myself in their shoes, which is damn near impossible to do. But I can't imagine being a first round pick, being injured, wanting to play, and then just not getting crapped on. That's a little too strong, but just getting things said about me when it's just like, hey, man, I haven't done anything to deserve all this. I'm hurt. It's not entirely my fault here. like, give a break. So I don't know. I'm surprised. I'm surprised that type of stuff hasn't happened more often, though. Like,
I think it was the fact that he posted the video saying if he would have hurt me, I could retire.
Well, yeah, it was also spurred on by him saying Javon Kinlaw shoved my hat off at practice and making an entire video about it with a graphic.
Like I said, I don't think he went about things the right way, but Kinlaw can also calm down a little bit. He's got to realize that there's a certain way to deal with the media as well. But when someone's disrespecting like that, it is what it is.
It is what it is, man. It's gonna be fascinating going forward in the season.
It will be. It will be. Speaking of Bay Area legends, my dad is calling me that we need to go to the A's game. So real quick before we leave, speaking of my dad, he always reminds me a little bit of Ray Liotta from the Goodfellas. Got kind of the hair, same kind of deal. R.I.P. to Ray Liotta. You see the kind of same hairstyle?
I'm trying to. I don't really see it. No.
I'll send you a side by side.
Okay.
But yeah, Ray Liotta, great in Goodfellas. Yeah, been in numerous movies since then, mafia movies, gangster movies. He was just in the Sopranos movie where he played two parts.
Wild Hogs.
Wild Hogs, yeah. I don't think I've ever saw that movie, but I know about it.
Yeah, he was really good.
That's definitely your type of movie, Steven. Tim Allen and all those guys and Wild Hogs.
Oh, love Wild Hog. Martin Lawrence and freaking
Who else is in that?
Why am I blanking on dude's name from Shameless?
Oh, William H. Macy.
William H. Macy. Yeah, all those guys.
Tim Allen. Who's the other? Oh, John Travolta.
John Travolta.
That's
yeah,
a cast right there. Good Lord.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ray Liotta. Yeah, great actor. Obviously the sports tie is he was Shoeless Joe Jackson in Field of Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, R.I.P.
Yeah.
I'll always the good. Just like every other white guy my age, Goodfellas is my favorite movie.
Me too.
So yeah, very sad to hear about him.
Come on, man. I mean, you get chills when you hear "All My Life I Wanted to Be a Gangster."
Oh yeah.
Like,
And the ending of that movie too was I'm an average nobody. I'm a schnook. They sent me pasta with ketchup. They called yeah. And then it ends with Joe Pesci shooting him.
Yeah. Slicing garlic as thin as you've ever seen in your life.
R.I.P. Ray Liotta.
Mm.
All right, Steven. Everyone, this podcast is not dying, but it won't be coming out as frequently as it has in the past.
Yeah.
I start the new job on Wednesday. Steven and I's schedules don't line up like they used to.
Right.
So we will find time to do this. Probably we'll do this next Saturday if you're down, Steven. We'll try to do this more on the weekend if we can. But look out for us. We're gonna try to make this. I'll have off days with the Giants playing day games, and I'll try to squeeze a podcast in. But we will be around. Don't you fret, people. All to the 3 people that usually listen to this podcast will be around.
Yes. Yeah. We'll try. I don't know what the schedule is going to look like, but we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out, sir. I hope you feel better, sir.
Yeah. Still, I'm gonna go test after this. See if I'm negative and can actually go back to work.
I hope so. All right, Steven, say what you always say, my friend.
What do I say? That's just your opinion, man, or our opinion.